nhớ trong thấy trong nhật gì cái tên là cha nó là lúc chỉ liên tục nó thì gì trong ấp hạ cầu xa của nhà bỏ đi vào sau sự nó của cho bé mù sai Hmong Early Childhood Summit Education khi ở mình tụi mình nhỏ nhận đau thảo luận nó có cử lên grade E mù trò li high school để dùng ba luôn nâng đi cha thảo luận cho mình nhỏ lo tôi là thì dùng mót share cần đầu cho luôn nâng và mình lời tóm đề mỗi lúc trong sĩ thả nhân cho lúc chỉ liên tục nó thì trò trong ấp hạ cầu xa ta nó là còn nó tao cũng cho bé mình cho tu chuyện cho nên là lúc event đó sĩ thả thì vì cái là thì chỉ trả theo tổ khác là cũng cho bé mình cho tôi giảm lô xong sĩ thả thì cái cần đó ba chơi cái mình tụi mình nhỏ thôi chừng như dầu nó họ chừng bộ lý trả cái dùng xe tôi chỉ có khi sĩ vì cái nên thì chỉ trả có một lúc event cho nó nào
yeah nhớ trong so nó bây giờ là gì tận thọ tôi cùng bây nó là bác sĩ thả cho thật sự biết cho mình nhỏ thế biết cho mình nhỏ cái cần đời đó hay thì cần đời lý cha thế ôn nhiều gì biết là bắt sớm lý cha lý biết muốn tiền like biết hay thì tôi cần đời mà chỉ là tôi này khu ngầu quá xí lắm chỉ ni tôi này chỉ bắt sớm rồi thế chỉ muốn này chỉ bắt sớm thế nhiều cứ cái chuyện tao thế. Well, I think being like eco message being passed along to Thiaj and especially housing port now. Thiaj is good housing port. Well, one thing we know that housing port will be more Hmong no, housing port and even in Minneapolis too. But mainly the message based passed along to Thiaj everywhere, especially even in Minnesota alone, is that you know, being to young day no, and take me guy young day, but then we still see that big you larger gachita share as like compared to Yamika like gachita as comparable to them, and we need to encourage going saka but you know to at least just come tôm long say you go but I catch tôm long say had you know it's big you know we have a lot of people here that that works with children, professors, we have professors here, we have you know teachers and even health professionals here, and we have a lot of wealth of knowledge in you know here, so for beginnercy to just come and listen and see what they can take from that, because you bảo thì chỉ to tuần nó đôi chỉ chỉ bảo nè, so you only you bảo thì you sass but understand that you know it's okay so day from before from Ntawv, and so we need to keep up with that and we need to understand that and to help support but so that they will be on the right track.
Well, đặt tới giảm luôn rồi sẽ tôn chỉ còn hôm nào thế cũng bỏ cái khó cái hôm nào tôi mua cái bước shop đó còn nó thì khó chỉ chính hơn bao bây giờ mình tụi mình nhỏ giờ mình tụi nhỏ thôi gió ba tuổi mình đi trong xa chỗ chi lọt cho đi ta xin nó khó có bỏ thế có chất sinh thế sang ngủ rồi bây giờ này cho chỉ từ yếm ba thì mình tụi mình nhỏ thì trả theo đi một tàu rồi luôn nâng và mình lấy giá tốn đấy.
Yeah, trong xe giờ còn nó mà bé tôi tốn đấy nữa chỉ bắt cho ít xong lại chỉ cái cờ bây giờ cờ tông đầu là nhớ liền thì tôi bỏ lạnh nó chỉ ta xin nó bây giờ mua lấy cầu xa lạnh hoặc cho cờ tông bắt số là xe đua cũng giờ rong lại bên mong pi lili thì khi bây giờ tao qua rong bỏ lên nó là có bây giờ chủ chỉ số nó cá hay thì bây giờ mình tụi mình ta xin nó lúc này bị xua nè mà giờ nhau cha lên lúc này ta xin nó vì thì để bắt ta bây giờ nó cũng thả lô nó bỏ tàu hay để cho họ lựa tờ nó làต้องการcó mua college education đào là xứ là giờ chữa mua nhớ là technical training thế giờ thì chỉ mua lên nó chỉ sẽ để cho nhẹ nó chỉ giờ lên nó chỉ ta sẽ biết bỏ tàu thì biết cho mình nhớ K-12 là giờ thì có cái kindergarten mà sao không có on mà biết bông cây hành nè giờ chỉ cho kindergarten kia là biết bông bỏ tàu kali thế chỉ hay thì cho đu bỏ cho mẹ bỏ là cho nó cho bông là biết cho bông cây trả lại thế một cho không im một số không có o nó bây giờ cho number là bây giờ mình mong giờ cho bông cây hành chỉ nhớ lên một số sinh nhiều là giờ không có on đó có một college chỉ có chúng một sinh tu test holy ACT nó thì linh cả tàu college nó chỉ bây giờ qua bông lên cầu xa所以chỉ tu test mà khó xét chạy bây giờ trâu á chỉ cần đó university một số colleges nó mà lấy chỗต้องการlên nâng cầu cho nâng cầu chi nữa bây giờ cầu xa所以bây giờ chẳng cả tàu giờ bên cả tàu là mua bé bỏ ít xong cả ít sau tàu college chỉ tới bé bông ít xong chỉ bé tôi sẽ cho nâng cầu tập phá rồi chỉ còn nó chỉ bé theo chơi hay thì có bé tàu sĩ rõ tiền nữa à nên ta xin nó này bé chỉ số nó cá hay tiền bé mong lấy bé cho plot cho xong là bé sĩ rõ trong này cho ta sẽ bé họ tao nó tao họ mình chỉ bé chỉ lấy chỉ nó cá cho bé cho mình tụi mình là có sẽ đại cái chủ trâu sẽ tiền có cái chủ sĩ rõ tiền đó họ luôn này bé xua cho la cho cả ít bộ trẻ cho bảo ta thì giờ lên nó có bé chấm không sót cho rõ lại nó nè
phải lo lý do bé trồng mông nhá họ sẽ cho nè cho chỉ yuan ba lý do đó tên mình tụi mình nhá ít thầu cho nên họ có hai thiết nhuận xe rồi bé cho mình tụi mình nhá thì là tụi ST theo sau này dây lên đó bé cho trâu percent thì bé cột xa sao nè có bậc khác tới lo thì yuan ba lý do bé cho mình nhá thầu cho lúc sau từ high school là cho ST thì một cho lý bé cho trâu
ha chỉ họ nói chỉ nhớ lấy thầu mình nhá cho mẹ nữa mà có sao thì họ chỉ chính chấp lại chỉ bé tao xảo mỗi khi họ làm đó bé cho mình tụi mình nhá tụi họ sẽตื่นได้แล้วก็ตื่นได้nó mìnhต้องมีอยู่chỉจำเป็นว่าตอนยานะต้องมีอยู่ปืนนะเจ้าก็ช่วยจะตื่นได้ต้องมีอยู่ซื้อเลยแต่ตัวเขาจะตื่นได้จะให้ด้านในไปแต่เราจะใจด้านในกันเก่าจะให้ด้านในจะให้ลงมองสุดละจงเวียแต่เจ้าฟ้าให้ตัวมีอยู่ได้ยังเกิดอ้อยาเลยไปยาโลมาตัวมีอยู่ได้หนึ่งลบปะลุจะตายรอดชานะจะยังเล่นน้อยจะก็ไปจะเนี่ยจะจุดสิลุสิหายซื้อไปคือกันเก่าเราจะต้องสิหายยังอยู่ที่ของเราจะต้องก็จะล้อเราเทก็เวอร์เลยแต่เราว่าอยู่รู้เราเขาเหลือแต่ตัวเต็มตัวไม่หย่อนนะเขาเขาใจแจ้งอีตัวไปคือกันเก่าแต่เราไปเขาจะป้อนได้แต่สิไปเดินป้อนนั้นต่อจากด้านหนึ่งนะแต่จะเนี่ยจะป้อนได้แต่สิมาแล้วเราจะได้รอแล้วจะมีอันได้ซะนะจะมีอันได้เนี่ยน้องจิตเสียชับเลยเลยก็ต้องได้เลยจะเขาเนี่ยเขาใจแจ้งไปจะเนี่ยจะเสียตลอดว่าเพื่อจะเขาไปตัวนะไปจะเนี่ยจีก็ใจแจ้งชับเลยนะเนี่ยเลยแต่ไปจะมีหน่วยหมดต่อใจกันได้ไปต่อจากการนะไปจากการมาวิเลจายแต่กูตัวมีหน่วยตัวจีเนี่ยESLแล้วมันปอESLเจ้ากูยังจีเคลีนะเจ้าตัวมีป้องจอไปปล่อยส่งESLเจ้าเนี่ยเจ้าจะต้องโจรอะไรไปเจ้าอยู่ตัวมีตัวจีต้องการESLยังก็จะจุ่มหายเวทีมั่วใจให้แต่กูตัวมีหน่วยกูจีสากันเนี่ย ESL นะไปแล้วแต่กูตัวมีหน่วยแต่เราเนี่ยตัวต้องการ special ed ปอเนี่ยเล่นเนี่ยกันได้ตานะแล้วก็ชิเจ้าก้าเจ้าตัวมีหน่วยแล้วชิมว่าตัวspecial ed เจ้าตัวมีป้องก้าตาจอเท่าเจ้าก็ยังจุเจ้าจะมีหน่วยก้าไอ้ที่ป้องให้ตัวมีหน่วยได้ยังกันได้ลิจานะเจ้าเขาทำมีหน่วยล่อจอก็เจ้าก้าเนี่ยลิจาเจ้าก้าเขาให้ตัวมีหน่วยเนี่ยได้จีอย่ามีหน่วยเนี่ยตัวมีหน่วยก็เก่งเวลาวงปอตัวมีหน่วยก็เก่งไฮโลปอในเจ้าก็ตัวมัวจอของกันว่าป้าจอมตัวมีหน่วยว่าเนี่ยตัวด้านใดนะเนี่ยป้าลึกใต้ตัวด้านใดเจ้าก็ตัวป้าตัวด้านใดเลยในเจ้าเขาน้อยอยากขอไปป้าต่อไปจะมีหน่วยจะเตี้ยเนาะในจีสีเนี่ยจีเสียจีเลยในจีท่าสีให้แต่อยู่ให้ตัวในตัวใจเงินใจอยู่ที่เลยป้าเตาในจียาลูกสีเหอเราใจไม่ต้องมีหน่วยซื้อจากคนนอกกุศลให้แต่จีแจ้งยังอยู่จะไปเจ้าเนี่ยจีก็ไปสีเหอซื้อวิแต่อย่าไปสีเหอจะไปปอดเตาให้แต่ไปรุ่นในไปชัวเนี่ยใจเลยจ้าแต่สินอตัวไอ้ปวดแรงนะไปมวยเรนแต่ไปเจ้าแรงเนี่ยเกิดจอยใหญ่ซะน่ะจะไปตัวป้องหลอกไกลเลยไปจู่ว่าป้องไกลอย่าเลยอเมริกาตัวไอ้ปวดแรงหน่อยเป็นอย่างของมาเลยเก่าแรงซะนะจะไปจู่ชาคอนดาวิไปเจนจะเจอนะอย่าไปจู่ว่าเลยนะจะรุ่นในไปชัวจะเข้าหรือเต่าเนาะปัวเลยจะเข้าหรือเราต้องการ college education ซื้อน่ะเราอยากจะมัวอยากจะมัวกับ technical เตะซื้อเราจะถอดไปเชียใจไปแต่ไม่ต้องมีหน่วยจะมีป้องกาตาจะถอดเราไปจะมีสอนใหญ่นะจะถอดไปมีหน่วยสอนใหญ่จะเราต้องมาตู้ชาตู้เนี่ยเท่าต้องนอต่อเฮาจะยันเลยนอจะไปลงไปนั่นเลยจะเนี่ยจะจีโร่จะทหารจะไปตัวจรถเตชาแล้วรู้จักมัวเนี่ยอยู่ชิดใจเลยจะเกษามาคนนักกุศลให้จะเนี่ยจีเนี่ยต่อว่าต่อเจก็ไปสิจอดเท่านั้น
Now, what I've done is really trying to translate the theme of this conference and push that theme further by looking at some of the data. And this is a very small glimpse of the bigger data. If you're interested in the bigger data, let me know. I have plenty of data for us to look at. Before I begin, I want to thank the planning committee for putting this together. I know that me and Zane and so many of you and Donald, all of my colleagues are working so hard to put this together. I do apologize, I did not have time this year at all, collecting data, of course. So again, I want to thank all of you for putting this together, okay? So the reason why we need to start early is because if you look at the statistics at the national level and also at the Minnesota level, the cost of living it's skyrocketing, right? But the wages, the salary that we receive continue to remain very steady over the years. And let me show you what the data is. If you look at the data, a worker in 1975 could live with just $3 per hour, right? But in today's society, if you earn less than $15, you're still considered poor. You need 2 incomes to survive in 2017, and that will continue. So it's important that if our children don't go on after high school into some sort of post-secondary education, chances are they will start a job that pay $10, $12, under $15. Right? We're still debating at the national and the state level, really trying to get it to $15. But even at $15, you still need 2 incomes, not just 1. And so that is the reality that we need to start early, because that's the reality for our community. And not just the Hmong community, but for a lot of immigrant and refugee communities. And if you put this into perspective, you look at the community and Hmong in particular, we're actually one of the highest group of ethnic minority population who have a job, right? 91% of our population is working, which is great. If you look at it in 1990, 75% of our population are on welfare. Okay? So that's a huge change. But you have to ask the question, if everybody's working, why our poverty rate is so high? Right? So if you think about 33% of our households are still living under poverty, and 35% of our families or households that have children under the age of 18 are also considered poor, which is one of the highest in Minnesota, as you know. Well, and if you look at the statistic further, you'll see that 38% of our population are working for a lot of company assembly line, right? Production and manufacturing works, which is typically temporary work in production and manufacturing, that they're often changing jobs, that they often have either temporary or part-time jobs. Right? And so it's not very surprising, right, that 35% Hmong and 38%, they're very correlated. So even though a lot of us are actually working, we're still very poor because we're actually working for low-paying jobs. And that's the reality, okay? So it's important for us to understand that if we continue to let this go, right, the way it is, if we stay idle, if you don't do anything, that trend will get worsened. And here's the reason why. If you look at the K-12 statistics, and these are statistics, and I have, again, references, and if you don't believe Dr. Ntawv, okay, you can go into these specific references and find out for yourself. 97% of our populations, or excuse me, 97% of our children are actually U.S.-born children, which is second or third generation. Okay? But 69% of our population, the K-12 population, are actually in Nrhiav, or actually identify as Nrhiav. And as you know, children in English as a second language courses or classes or classification, they're actually doing poor, one of the worst performances across school districts. If you look at it again, I gave you a few statistics in there. If you look at the MCA math and MCA reading, more than half of our EL population actually did pretty poorly, both the MCA reading and math. So that's very alarming. So you have to back the question, if a lot about, right? Children actually in this program. Is this program actually designed for the second and third generation? And if it is, then why are so many actually underperforming? So that's very important, and so we need to change. So if you look at on average the MCA statistics that I did 3 years ago with Council for Asian Pacific, and I know that I've presented several times, especially on the paper, it's all over the place. And with that data set, Hmong, especially at the bottom. The only Asian American group that we actually surpassed, that the number is actually Korean. The rest of the other Asian American population is pretty much ahead of us. If you also look at the EAL population, right, in St. Paul, for example, and then in Minneapolis, comparing to other places like, for example, in School District 196 and 191, where they have a lot of Vietnamese and Lao population, their EAL population is about close to 13%. Yeah. Whereas in our population, which is close to, again, nearly close to 70%, and that's pretty unbelievable. Here in Jackson, again, the EAL population is pretty high. We also have high Asian American population, and this is just an example of the third grade MCA score, and as you can see, our kids are not doing pretty well. And so we still have a lot of challenges. If you look at Harding High School, for example, where we have more than half of our population are considered Asian, mostly Hmong, and you also look at the statistics, they're not doing very well as well. So again, you look at from the pre-K to elementary to senior high, and then I could show you some of the higher education statistics as well. You see that trend from kindergarten all the way to higher education, and that achievement gap continues. And so there's a wonderful sociologist named C. Wright Mills back in the 50s, and he said this. He said, when you see one child who's struggling, it must be the child, right? Maybe it's his or her cognition. If you see 10 kids out of thousands, maybe it's the 10 kids who actually have some cognitive deficiency. But when you see more than 50% of these children actually having problems, it's no longer the children, now it's the system. And this is the case. We have more than 50% of our children actually struggling, and it's now no longer the children's fault or the children's cognition. Now it is the system, and so we need to address the system. And of course the ACT, I've heard they talk so much about it. How many of you actually know that Century College or Inver or Simple Tech, if they require the ACT, what would be the minimum ACT score that they require? Any guess? 20. 20 between 20 and 22. Hmong, Asian American in St. Paul, 69% are actually Hmong. Right? So the number actually reflect Hmong children's score. Their composite, which is they combine all the small components together, and the composite score is actually 17. So if your child who has a lot of ESL classes and has an ACT score of 17 and may not meet the MCA proficiency test, what is the chance of getting into a better college? Very, very small, right? And if that child gets into college, that child will spend the first semester or the first year taking remedial classes that don't even count for their degree, which means that they would actually pay, well, at the University of Minnesota, extra $23,000 a year for his or her college education cost. Now that's a real significant cost. Now, if you look at the IQ test, this is from kindergarten to 3rd grade IQ test for Hmong children. And for the Kaufman or Weisler, the average IQ test would be 100, a standard deviation would be 15. So if you plus and minus 15 out of 100, it has to be between 85 to 115 would be an average range, right? Now if you look at the Hmong children, for the ability to reason and the ability to solve problems, the average actually 83.94 and the average would be 86, which means that Hmong children are falling behind one standard deviation behind. In English, Hmong children actually fall behind one grade level, and so they actually fall behind pretty early on in life. And as the earlier statistics show, if children are actually behind by 3rd grade and there's no intervention, that children or that child will continue to fall behind throughout life, right? And so that's a real significant data that we need to look at. They also did another performance. They said, well, maybe it's the language. The Hmong children could not perform, right, follow direction to be able to articulate some of these pictures when they actually test. Well, what about just nonverbal and have the child act out? Even with nonverbal testing, again, the Hmong children actually still fall behind significantly below. But just as they're at the bottom, right, at the borderline between one standard deviation. So it really shows that now children from the classroom academic performance, they're falling behind. From an IQ test, they're also falling behind. From any type of testing, that they actually continue to fall behind. And so I think it's important for us educators to continue to say, well, maybe it's a system. Right? And so are we teaching them the right tools? Are we looking at the type of learning styles that these children come into a classroom that we could make them get it? Or is it that the system doesn't care? I think we have to continue to raise more questions so that we can continue to fight and leverage more opportunities for these children. Because if you stay idle, like this data, we're not going to help our children in the future. If you look at this data, this is my data that I'm actually very hot out of the press. Okay? You are the first people to see this data. This is my longitudinal data. It actually involved more than 500 children. And these are children 3rd and 4th and 5th graders that they're actually reporting whether or not the parents take the time to look at their homework and reading with them and practice math and reading and participating in school. And as you can see in this number, and I actually highlighted in red. Now, a lot of parents actually take the time to watch our children, but when it comes to hands-on, reading to children, helping children doing their homework, the majority of them, either they don't know how, or that it's not something that they feel comfortable doing. Okay. And so, as part of our coalition, the HACK coalition, that's one of our emphasis, is really trying to engage parents so that parents understand the importance of early education and getting children to be a part of the process so that they don't fall behind early. So here's my quick take-home message to all of you, and I hope that you could also share to all the people. And it's very simple. All we have to do is take the time to talk and read to our children. Right? It's very simple. You ask Gano, and you ask Zhang and me, and all these all these educators actually working with little kids, 0 to 3. If you could get parents to do that early, we'll actually close the achievement gap. Let me show you the data. Back in 1995, there's actually a group of scholars in Chicago. They did a wonderful study comparing low-income families versus high-income families and trying to find out why is it that a lot of inner cities children fail and not children from an affluent community. And the control for income and parent education, all these, right? And what they come down to is that that parents who actually take the time to read to the children makes a huge difference. Right? By age 4, for example, affluent parents who actually take the time to read to the children every day, versus parents who don't take the time to read to the children because of their life circumstances, and not because they don't want to. The gap is what they call the 30 million words. By age 4, the affluent children actually get additional 30 million words comparing to kids who are actually coming from impoverished families. That's huge. And if you go to Google and type the 30 million word initiative, that's a huge initiative with African American. I think we should bring the 30 million initiative to Minnesota as well, because we need Hmong and all the immigrant parents to do the same. Because I think that will close the achievement gap. If we say, well, all of these data are nonsense, I don't care, I'm going to go fishing, I'm going to go farming, I'm going to go chicken fight, I'm going to party, I need to go to the funeral, I need to do all these, as we all heard it if you're in the Hmong community, right? If you say this, yeah, I don't care. Kids, the one who is actually smart, he or she will turn out to be okay. Don't worry about it. You guys are worrying too much. That's what a lot of parents told us. Now, if we continue to let it go, this is what happened. Right? This is a projection from the Minnesota labor statistics. If we continue things the way it is, by 2020, only 20% of our children, more than 65% of our Hmong children, are actually under the age of 18. Yeah? Only 20% of them will be able to compete for the new job market in Minnesota. 51% of the job market will require an AA or higher degree. Now, what about the other 80%? The other 80% will compete for what? 49% of the job that don't require a degree. Think about it. 80% of our population will compete with only 49% of the type of jobs that do not require college education. That's a huge competition, right? Because we're not only the only ethnic minority population while competing for that 49% jobs. And so if you do the math, then you know that the 21st century Hmong children or other children are very similar, share very similar characteristics like Hmong, will have a tougher life. Given the changing cost of living and giving the stagnant wages and salary and giving the competitiveness of the job markets nowadays, because it's no longer a local competition, it's a global competition. Our children, I think, will suffer much more. And I think that our statistics, the 30% right now in poverty, will actually reverse back and will continue to grow. And so if you look at the African American, for example, their 35% poverty rate actually stayed there for the pretty much since the 70s. And I don't think we want our Hmong population to continue to stay in that trend I think even though we're a small group of people, but I think it can make a difference. And I think change can happen with this small group of people, and that we need to spread the message, and I think we have to act now. So thank you.
Went to school, and she kept going on, saying all the great things that she learned, and then finally she said, and I want you to know you saved my life. And we both had tears in our eyes. We almost cried, but we had tears in our eyes. Because it was so powerful that one person can make such a difference in the life of a whole family. So after she left our program, a year later she called me and she said that she signed up to be a facilitator for our Sapeo program in Minneapolis. And so she would facilitate parenting classes for families. And I was so proud of her. I had tears in my eyes again. And I said, wow. So what made you decide that you wanted to become a facilitator? Because before she left our program, I asked her, I said, so what are you going to do today when you get home? And she said, well, I'm going to cook dinner, help the kids with homework, make sure they go to bed early, and then take my shower and go to bed. I said, okay, that's great. But what are you going to do for yourself? And she said, well, I don't know. I've never thought about that. I said, well, you don't have a goal? And what you want to do for yourself so that you can better help your family besides being an awesome mom? No. So when she called me and said that she wanted to learn how to be a facilitator, get some facilitation ideas from me, because she was going to be a Sapeo facilitator, I was just so proud of her. And she said, you not only saved my life, but you were my role model. So not only children, but other people that we teach, because she was my student. They're always looking at us, they're always watching us. And we make a difference. And that is why I decided I should come today. Even though I don't have this great, amazing credential yet, it's in the works. But I wanted to share those two stories. And I wanted to share this strategy that I use with families a lot. So, who thinks money is valuable? Very good. Who receives money from people that don't know you or don't love you, besides work, Social Security, welfare? And do you give money to people you love, people you want to help? For example, when you go to the funeral, when you go and do the hupli hite, right? Okay. So our children, imagine our children as this piggy bank. Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot to look over there. Imagine our children as a piggy bank. No one loves our children more than we do. And that's not a lie. We can go and say, oh, I love your children, I love you, I love helping your children, and I just love. But at the end of the day, no one loves your children more than you do. So it is our responsibility to deposit all these great coins into our children's piggy bank so that they grow up to be strong people, so they don't need to be fixed. So when we meet with our children and when we talk with our children, we deposit coins into their piggy bank. The earlier we deposit, the more coins they have. So the story with the teenage daughter, she was missing the coin of valuing education. She was missing the coin of trusting her parents, that the mom and dad could have deposited. She was missing the coin of having time with mom and dad, valuing that relationship piece. And then in the story, the second story, that mom is super busy depositing coins into her children. Depositing strong coins into her children by being a role model, by taking them to a class so that they can have a school classroom environment experience to get them ready for school. Depositing the coin of making sure they go to bed early and so that their body has enough rest to learn. So she's super busy depositing all these coins, and you can only imagine how full her children's piggy bank is. So that's the strategy that I want us to take away, that I want to share with you today, is that when we deposit these coins, always be depositing coins, continuously, by being a role model, by showing our children, by allowing our children to make mistakes, by talking with them, by using these really big words with them. Don't be afraid to use big, juicy words, so that they have a bank full of coins. So when we go to the store and we want to buy something yummy to eat, we can't because we don't have money, right? If we don't have money, we can't buy it. It's the same with our children. When our children are confronted with a problem, are confronted with an expectation that they have to do, but they don't have any coins in their piggy bank to pull from, then they don't know how to. They don't know how to solve that problem because they've never been confronted with it. They don't have the skills to understand how to problem solve. And problem solving is a 21st century skill that our children need so that they could take on all of those, that 20% of jobs that are going to be out there and available for our children. And if they're confronted with a situation that someone bullied them at school or someone yelled at them, they don't know what to do because they don't have that plan. So remember that. Remember that every single day when you work with your children, when you work with, because I know in this room there are educators as well, when you work with children, remember that what you do every day is to deposit these coins into their piggy bank so that they walk away from your room, they walk away and they leave your house full of coins. So today, Dr. Lawm, thank you, shared some really good information for us to think about and how we will, and what type of coins we will deposit. It was sad that when I saw that only 23% of 3rd and 4th grade parents and 24% of 5th grade parents talk to their children about their school day. Talking is free. Talking is free, but I will say this, that the mom who said I saved her life, she said to me, I never knew that I was supposed to talk with my children. I only tell them what to do, and then I'm done. And if they ask me a question, I answer, and then I'm done. We're done. I never knew I had to talk with them. Okay, so we're just human. We know what we know, and we do what we know. And now we know more, and we're going to communicate what we know to others so that more people know.
Chị này na phần tao cháu một cần tới lỡ này chị cháu một kiện cháu xe nhưng xe là chị cho nó cho cháu này là như chị chua xa mù cần tới cái môn chị nên là chân mù là giờ tình nhau chỉ muốn chỉ xa và chỉ xa một cỡ là nó là mấy thì phần tao chỉ cho nó chỉ cho và lấy chỉ cho sao không biết này nếu như nhau trong lấy thế chỉ lấy chỉ nhiều không có thì thế chỉ bây giờ nên là một sao đó chỉ cần tới là người hai tiền ôn chỉ cho cam cả tua là lấy thì hai đó thì cho nhiều chi tiền nếu chỉ cho cam cả lò lấy thì chỉ mua không biết nào thế thì cho nó có lý do nên là mua cái giáo sư để tôi dùng
thì họ chắc là họ lên đó cho cụ chấm nhỏ mi chân là thì nó tỏ ra chế này vậy. That's right here.
Welcome, Keja. Okay, Bang. Hello, I'm Bang, but my English is poor. Maybe I will speak some more language. Okay, sorry. Quý học Bang, chế cú tu hana cú chung có luyện hana. Hà chế tổ sư bao đặc là tổ số cái tổ, quý ai được mong số. Chế nó này cú tu cho hana chế cú mua auto mình nhỏ, ít tổ plus ít tổ ít xong auto bớt là mình tu. Chế cú tu hana chế cú chào chế lots of questions. First, such like, có sample là về đi chẳng biết mong nhau số nhau thay nhau plot nhau mấy cái để xử lý biết được mỗi cho doctor cũng đau rồi, ta sẽ cũng bộ mong luôn nên chẳng chẳng bị chặn, why? Ta sẽ giờ ta có hai đám mong chút kinh, về đi chẳng chỉ phán sung luôn nè, chỉ thay sung luôn chứ, không thay số 10 多10 lô 10 số bây giờ, ta sẽ biết mong chẳng chỉ đâu tu nông này, biết mong chẳng một luôn này ha này. 但是只旁上罗莫一张nation， 一张 nationality 呢说对着你们都不了哦，你们都我说了，没有xử lý thằng nào chỉ có được bù， mỗi cho mình nhỏ chỉ nhiều dòng mông nhiều， 但是你lúc sau都lòng我没干了，chỉ có人想的，还做记录就要想的，忘的被叫梦着，你都没说每路能差，他每做confidence 做，你 very proud 的过样梦。 hạt rồi mi chế hạt rồi có auto mi tu chế vậy à auto mi tu là ta tu chế chỉ giáo dùng chế mong gia dụ lúc chế gia dụ chế này là trên nước dùng mong lo đi chơi gì lại là chỉ dùng chế ra nên là có sản phẩm đã bộ mấy gia chủ yếu bằng đầu có auto tu chế cho你们包你们要梦他还到 oh very good English like you always and had the very good Chinese like me and had the Hmong rong some more Hmong culture the more Georgia was down there that's why I'm here.
Thank you. Well, welcome back. Thank you. Nancy?
My name is Nancy. I don't have any children. My children are my nieces and nephews from these two.
Oh, you guys are related?
That's my brother-in-law.
Oh, okay. Are you the same sister? Oh, okay.
But I'm here in support of the program with Zhang and them, and to learn, even though I don't have children of my own, that, and I've taught, not here but abroad, that you know, I just wanted to learn more on how to engage, you know, with my nieces and nephews, and you know, for future references and stuff too.
Yeah. Well, welcome, Nancy, and thank you for also helping to deposit coins into your nieces and nephews. Susan.
My name is Susan. I have a 5-year-old. His name is Emilio. He is in kindergarten this year. So I am here today originally just to come support Zhang in the program, but I'm really glad I did come. I think it gave me a completely different perspective. You know, we talk about it all the time about reading, doing math, and all, like being more engaged with our kids, and you know, sometimes you forget that, you know, life takes you in a different route. You get tired when you come home, but you know, it's nice to come back in and like see that there are other parents who, you know, probably struggle with the same things too. So I'm really happy to be here.
Well, we're glad you're here. And sometimes I joke about parenting classes that it's kind of concept of a vision tree. So similar to the piggy bank, this is a vision tree. So if we imagine that our children are trees, the leaves are the adult qualities. And we can like have little flowers or apples or whatever too. The leaves are the qualities that we want our children to have. Because remember, our children don't stay small forever. They grow up, they become adults. So what kind of qualities do we want our children to have when they become adults? The roots are what our children are born with. It's what they're born with. They don't have a choice. It's what they're born with. They're born with us as their mom and dad. They're born into the Vang clan or the Yang clan. They're born with blue eyes or brown eyes or red hair. And then the trunk is our influence, our parental influence and societal's influence. And it's this trunk that we get to decide. And we have the power over. Do we want to build our children with strong trunks and huge piggy banks? Or do we want to build our children with these really slim, weak, limpy trunks? And we have that power to influence the trunk, right? So the roots are their physical features, their intellect, their temperament, their special needs, their family dynamics. So let's take a minute to think about your children. Think about your children's physical features, intellect, temperament, special needs. What is it that makes them who they are? So take a minute to think about that, and I want you to share. We'll do a popcorn. Oh, you don't have children. Think about the children you work with. Okay.
Let's see, physical features. A lot of them are minorities.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they have skin color?
Yes, so different skin colors, different colored eyes, different colored hair.
Okay, all right, very good. Bang.
Where are we at?
Oh, where, what?
It's a quiz for you.
I know! Don't make it too hard. I'm already, like my mind is kind of already fried.
So I can just pick one.
Yeah.
Special needs.
Do you have a child with special needs?
No, okay, so, no, he doesn't require special needs, but he had speech delay when he was younger. So we were able to find out that that's an issue.
Yeah.
And we found a resource to help him out
Yeah.
when he was smaller.
Yeah.
It had helped him.
Yeah, so that's what makes them unique. Okay? That's an excellent example. Gotcha.
I'm gonna go with temperament. I have 4 kids, and 3 of them are girls. So when they were all smaller, you wouldn't because they all behave or they respond differently to you. So dia thổi lớn mẹ thì ít tu nữ xuyên tế cho ít tu xia nhà cho ít tu na. So even though lấy ở bé tung chạy là lấy cho chạy na. Yeah, and I see that growing to be teenagers lấy thổi lớn mẹ thì lấy cho ít go to the teenager. Yeah. So yes.
Good. Great, excellent example. Amy?
I think I'm going to talk about family dynamics. So what the child is born with. Our family is pretty close-knit, and they all live in the same area. So we're able to get together a lot, and they're very close with their cousins. And so that family dynamic kind of tradition piece is big in my family.
All right, those of you that I haven't picked, I'm going to pick on you next. And then the leaves are the qualities that we want for our children when they become adults. Let's take a minute to think about ourselves first. Think about ourselves. Think about the quality that makes you special.
They left at 7 a.m. this morning. They brought our dog Georgie. And they hinted that today, well, they said it was National Adoption Day. So they hinted they were going to bring home maybe someone to entertain our dog Georgie. And I was thinking, oh, you're going to find something? So I said, are you going to bring home I asked my daughter, would you prefer a kitten or a puppy or what? She goes, well, we're not making any promises. I was, trying to find out what is her interest and what are they thinking. And
at the Art Career Twin Cities. What we do there is we advocate for children and people with intellectual and developmental disabilities. And we also believe that people with disabilities should not be segregated or isolated just because they have a disability, and they should be included in the communities.
Ý chung là chỉ cái tình trạng họ nên họ bỏ tạ lo nó giờ lúc mà muốn về hùa thì Hmong Early Childhood Summit Education lo trò chơi thì nó là nhân trong thì nó sẽ bỏ đi thao trò của chế một số sự cho cái gần tới bắt chân ai biết tụi mình nhua cho luôn là lấy tổng đây để biết chúng Hmong sẽ là tổ sẽ đi dạng của về mà sinh chỉ được